Alright guys, Simon here. We're in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and we are standing in front of the Capitoline Hill, one of the 7 hills of Rome. Um, in the game it's in Italian it's Il Capitoglio, so I kind of get confused about that. So it is the Capitoline Hill. I think I called it the Capitoline Hill earlier, or maybe I called it something else. Anyway, so it's this thing. It's not that recognizable. I guess it's fairly recognizable if you know what you're looking at, but it's not as well known as the Pantheon or the Colosseum, of course. So it's a pretty major landmark, though, a pretty important place. So it's a hill. I mean, it's pretty. It's a big ramp and a staircase on it now, and there's a few important buildings. That's a church, I believe, and then there's a senatorial palace, and then there's something else. There's like 3 buildings around here, so let's go into the database of the game, just read up on these things, if I can find them quickly. So let's scroll across. Let's see, so... no, not that one. Here we go, so there's the Palazzo Senatorio, the senatorial palace. There's Palazzo dei Conservatori, and then there's the Basilica di Santa Maria in Aracoli. Coeli? Hold on. And of course there's the Capitoline Hill itself. Il Capitolio? The most famous of the 7 hills of Rome, Il Capitolio's ancient history yields layers of ruins steeped in mythology. Several important Roman temples were built atop the hill, including the Temple of Juno, the Temple of Virtus, and the Temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus Capitolinus. Jupiter Optimus Maximus Capitolinus. In the 1709, the hill was also home to the Tabularium, the empire's main archive. In the Middle Ages, it became the city center of civic government just before receiving a facelift from Michelangelo. So it's like it's a pretty important hill. So several important temples were there. I mean, especially the Temple of Jupiter. Jupiter being the chief among the gods of the old Roman pantheon. So it's a pretty important place, and it became the city center during the Middle Ages. Not too much about it here, but there is... Oh crap, I have to find the other stuff again. So if you scroll back across, so that just describes the hill itself. There are 3 buildings on it, as you remember. So there's the senatorial palace, right? Built during the 13th and 14th centuries as the senatorial seat for administration of justice in Rome. The palazzo is the dominating structure of the Campidoglio. Tourists today would see an impressive double-flighted staircase in front, which was designed by Michelangelo. That's not in the game though. Not only intended to induce fear in the climacophobic... these stairs were... oh, fear of staircases. These stairs were part of a commission Michelangelo received to redo several of the buildings on the I'm so bad at Italian. On the Capitoline Hill, at the behest of Pope Paul III, for the sole purpose of impressing Charles V, then ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. Basically the Renaissance political equivalent of a toddler doing handstand for his daddy. I don't know about that. The Pope had some power. And then we have to scroll all the way back. So there's the senatorial palace, built just before the Renaissance, to serve as the home of the Senate of Rome. Where's the other stuff? And then there's the Palazzo dei Conservatori, one of the structures that comprises the Campidoglio. This palazzo served as the seat of the Roman magistrate responsible for administering the city, or as the Pope liked to call him, his party planning committee. By the end of the 15th century, they had very little actual power. The Pope ran the city from the Vatican. So supposedly the governor, I guess, of the city of Rome. In the mid 16th century, Michelangelo got his talented little hands on the building, redesigning the facade and adding gigantic Corinthian pilaster strips on high pedestals to make it a little less ostentatious. I'm not certain he succeeded. Okay. And then there's a third building. There's a church. They really should sort these into. I mean, you can sort them, but it's not really useful. Like it separates out the aqueducts and bridges and whatnot. So adjacent to the Campidoglio Square, this basilica became the center for religious and civic life in the city during the 14th century. The architect claimed climbing the daunting 124-step staircase leading to the main entrance on one's knees would absolve a Catholic of all sins. Okay. Lord knows I'd rather have murder on my knees than on my hands. Some historians postulate the basilica was built atop the ruins of Juno's temple. I have a feeling there's more to this building than meets the eye, so I suggest paying close attention to this one. Right. So maybe the temple of Juno is underneath there. So there's 3 buildings on the Capitaline hill. So enough of the snarky comments from Sean in the games database. Let's go into Wikipedia. Capitaline Hill. So it's there. No, wait. No, it's there. So the old city is there, although the new city is actually here. So there's seven hills that make up Rome, right? Well, you can't see the mouse, can you? I'm looking at the map towards the right here. That's what it looks like. Capitaline Hill, Coordinata, center of the picture leading from Via del Teatro di Marcello to Piazza del Campidoglio. This is... Where is this photo taken from? So Michelangelo changed a lot of this. This is odd though. Is this the back? I'm not sure where that photo was taken from. So there's so he repaved everything. There's a center of a horse in the middle. The ramp is like there. Oh wait, you can't see the mouse. I'm looking at this picture here. So the ramp is right there between the 2 statues. So you can't see it going. Oh, is that the staircase? Maybe I'm just looking at the wrong thing. Are we looking at the same thing here? Piazza. So this is Michelangelo's modification. Did he just change? Wait a minute. I'm sure the ramp is still there today. So there's a big staircase in the senatorial palace. There's big columns to the right, and then he copied the building onto the left. So the church might not be there anymore. I need to look at the. Well, there's the ramp, right? Oh, I see. The ramp goes up to another staircase at the top of the ramp. Now, let me just go to maps and images. See if we can look at it from above. That might be more useful. This shows. So there's a ramp to the right. There's a staircase to the left and a staircase in the middle. Yeah, Michelangelo changed a lot of it. So you big giant staircase in the senatorial palace and so on and so forth. Alright, let's go to Google Maps. Wait a minute. Is that even showing us the actual... Wait a minute, hold on. What's my computer doing? Hopefully that didn't destroy the recording. So there's a... Oh, I see what's going on. So the ramp is that curving thing to the bottom left, and then there's a staircase up the middle, and then there's another staircase going up to the church. There's a church, there's the senatorial palace, there's the other palazzo, and then a copy of it on the other side. So it's completely different from how it is in game, because how it is in game was before Michelangelo came in and modified it quite a bit. So that facade has changed, got giant columns on it. He built a copy of it on the other side. The fountain is not there. I don't know if the fountain was ever there. This might just be wrong. This might just be wrong. I remember the ramp. The ramp might just be wrong because there's a massive staircase down the middle. I think the ramp is supposed to be to the side a little bit, curving down. Yeah, I think the ramp is just wrong. Alright, Wikipedia. The Capitoline Hill between the Forum and the Campus Martius is one of the 7 hills of Rome. It was the citadel, equivalent of the ancient Greek Acropolis of the earliest Romans. By the 16th century, Capitolinus has become Capitolino in Italian, with the alternative Campidoglino stemming from Capitolium, one of the 3 major spurs of the Capitolinus, other being Arx and Tarpeius. The English word capital derives from Capitaline. The Capitaline contains few ancient ground-level ruins, as they are almost entirely covered up by medieval and Renaissance palaces, now housing the Capitoline museums that surround a piazza, a significant urban plan designed by Michelangelo. So the ancient stuff is all gone. Michelangelo built over everything. Ancient histories at this hill, the Sabines creeping to the citadel were let in by the Roman maiden Tarpeia. For this, she was the first to suffer the punishment for treachery of being flung from a steep cliff overlooking the Roman Forum. This cliff was later named the Tarpeian Rock after the Vestal Virgin, and became a frequent execution site. Wait a minute. They executed people by throwing people off a cliff? Cool. The Sabines, who immigrated to Rome following the rape of the Sabine woman, settled on the Capitoline, the Volcano, Shrine of Vulcan, an 8th century sacred precinct, occupied much of the eastern lower slopes of the Capitoline, at the head of what would later become the Roman Forum. The summit was the site of a temple for the Capitoline Triad started by Rome's 5th king Tarquinius Priscus, and completed by the 7th and last king Tarquinius Superbus. It was considered one of the largest and most beautiful temples in the city, although little now remains. The city legend starts with the recovery of a human skull. The word for head in Latin is caput. When foundation trenches were being dug for the Temple of Jupiter at Tarquin's order. Recent excavations on the Capitoline uncovered an early cemetery under the Temple of Jupiter. There are several important temples built on Capitoline Hill: the Temple of Juno Moneta, Temple of Virtus, and the Temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus Capitolinus. The Temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus Capitolinus is the most important of the temples. It was built in 509 BC and was nearly as large as the Pantheon. Wow. So it basically covered the entire hill. If it's as big as the Parthenon, my bad. Nearly as large as the Parthenon, not the Pantheon. Wait a minute, the Parthenon is huge. The hill and the Temple of Jupiter became the symbols of Rome, the capital of the world. The Parthenon is the Greek one, right? It is massive. When Sinone's Gauls settled in central East Italy, raided Rome in 390 BC. After the Battle of River Allia, the Capitoline Hill was the one section of the city to evade capture by the barbarians, due to it being fortified by the Roman defenders. According to legend, Marcus Menelaus Capitolinus was alerted to the Gallic attack by the sacred geese of Juno. Geese, or several geese, alerted him, alright. When Julius Caesar suffered an accident during his triumph, clearly indicating the wrath of Jupiter for his actions in the civil wars, he approached the hill and Jupiter's temple on his knees as a way of averting the unlucky omen. Nevertheless, he was murdered 6 months later, and Brutus and his other assassins locked themselves inside the temple afterwards. Vespasian's brother and nephew were also besieged in the temple during the year of 4 emperors. The tabularium, located underground beneath the piazza and hilltop, occupies a building of the same name, built in the 1st century BC to hold Roman records of state. The tabularium looks out from the rear onto the Roman Forum. The main attraction of the tabularium, besides the structure itself, is the temple of Veiovis. During the lengthy period of ancient Rome, the Capitaline Hill was the geographical and ceremonial center. However, by the Renaissance, the former center was an untidy conglomeration of dilapidated buildings and the site of criminal executions. So this was basically the capital of ancient Rome. And then the main temples of ancient Rome was here on this hill. But after the fall of Rome, like the whole capital just fell apart. And eventually it got taken over again though by the people of the Renaissance. There's supposed to be a tabularium down here. Wait a minute, I thought it says it opens out to the Roman forums, which means it should be... Is it that thing? Is it this thing? I mean, that's kind of in the hill. Not sure though. Might be like this stuff here, or maybe not. Not sure. Also not sure how accurate these cliffs are. I don't think it's quite that steep. Hold on, let me just images doesn't really help, does it? Where's the map? It's not quite that steep, is it? So the ruins actually kind of butt straight into the back of the hill. Huh. Yeah, the Roman forums are right there. Hold on. So the game is missing some fairly significant... Oh, actually, is it up here? The game is missing some significant ruins. So the Roman forums should be right here. The ruins should be like, you know, right up against it, but not quite. The Roman forums in game are not in the right place. There seems to be an extra arch here, and then this stuff is in the wrong place, isn't it? So where's that arch? Oh, there's the arch there, I see. There's the arch, and then there's a few... Okay, I see. Well, maybe it's right. Maybe it's correct. Roman forums, and then that thing there. No, it's missing a few things. It's because they tried to pack everything into the game and they shrunk things down, so it's kind of at the wrong scale. So this stuff is kind of there, and then we're missing a bit of stuff here because that is way too close. That there is way too close. Anyway, enough about that. So the ancient Roman capital is somewhat bigger than what you see in game, but most of the pieces are here, I guess. Alright, back to Wikipedia. Medieval history. The Church of Santa Maria in Aracoeli is adjacent to the square, located near where the ancient arx or citadel atop the hill once stood. At its base are the remains of a Roman insula with more than 4 stories visible from the street. What's an insula? It's like an island. A kind of apartment building that housed most of the urban citizen population of ancient Rome. Alright, so apartments. In the Middle Ages, the hill's sacred function was obscured by its other role as the center of civic government in Rome. Revived as a commune in the 11th century, the city's government was now to be firmly under papal control, but the Capitaline was the scene of movements of urban resistance, such as the dramatic scenes of Cola di Renzio's revived Republic In 1144, a revolt by the citizens against the authority of the Pope and nobles led to a senator taking up his official residence on the Capitoline Hill. The senator's new palace turned it back on the ancient forum, beginning the change in orientation on the hill that Michelangelo would later accentuate. Oh, I see. A small plaza was laid out in front of the senator's palace, intended for communal purposes. In the middle of the 14th century, the guild's court of justice was constructed on the southern end of the plaza. This would later house the conservatory in the 15th century. As a result, the piazza was already surrounded by buildings by the 16th century. Hold on. Oh, I didn't know. Okay, that's right. So originally, the senatorial palace faced the other way. So the front of the building was actually on this side. Although you wouldn't really notice it looking at that. But originally, like, the Roman forums were there. So the senatorial palace would be on the hill overlooking the Roman forums. And of course the Colosseum in the distance. But you know, after the fall of the Roman Empire, all of that stuff kind of just became ruins. And eventually they came back to this palace, but now it's facing this way onto this square, and this part became the new center of civic government in Rome. And then that got built, and then that got built, and the old temple's just completely gone. Michelangelo. The existing design of the Piazza del Campidoglio and the surrounding palazzi was created by Renaissance artist and architect Michelangelo Buonarroti? That is how you pronounce it, right? In 1536 to 1546, at the height of his fame, he was commissioned by the Farnese Pope Paul III, who wanted a symbol of the new Rome to impress Charles V, who was expected in 1538. This offered him the opportunity to build a monumental civic plaza for a major city, as well as to re-establish the grandeur of Rome. Michelangelo's first designs for the piazza and remodeling of the surrounding palazzi date from 1536. His plan was formidably extensive. He accentuated the reversal of the classical orientation of the Capitoline, in a symbolic gesture turning Rome's civic center to face away from the Roman Forum, and instead in the direction of Papal Rome and the Christian Church in the form of St. Peter's Basilica. So he turned it back to front. This full half-circle turn can also be seen as Michelangelo's desire to address the new developing section of the city, rather than the ancient ruins of the past. An equestrian statue of Marcus Aurelius was to stand in the middle of the piazza, set in a paved oval field. Michelangelo was required to provide a setting for the statue and to bring order to an irregular hilltop already encumbered by two crumbling medieval buildings, set at an acute angle to one another. Palazzo del Senatore was to be restored with double outer stairway, and the campanile moved to the center axis of the palace. The Palazzo dei Conservatori was also to be restored, and a new building, the so-called Palazzo Nuovo, built at the same angle on the north side of the piazza to offset the conservatory, creating a trapezoidal piazza. A wall and balustrade were to be built at the front of the square, giving it a firm delineation from the side facing the city. Finally, a flight of steps was to lead up to the enclosed piazza from below, further accentuating the central axis. So the staircase that you see today is new. The sequence Condonata Piazza and the Central Palazzo are the first urban introduction of the cult of the axis that was to occupy Italian garden plans and reached fruition in France. The cult of the axis, basically having everything on an axis and then everything symmetrical around the axis. And if you look at Paris, like the whole city has a massive axis on it. It's kind of funny. Executing this design was slow. Little was actually completed in Michelangelo's lifetime. The Coronata Capitolina was not in place when Emperor Charles arrived, and the imperial party had to scramble up the slope from the Forum to view the works in progress. But work continued faithfully to his designs, and the Campidoglio was completed in the 17th century, except for the paving design, which was to be finished 3 centuries later. So Michelangelo died before it finished, but they built it according to his plans. And when the Emperor Charles arrived, the staircase was not in place yet. That's kind of funny. Piazza, the bird's eye view of the engraving by Etienne du Perec, shows Michelangelo's solution to the problem of the space in the Piazza del Campidoglio, even with their new facade centering them on the new palazzo at the rear. The space was a trapezoid, and the facades did not face each other squarely. Worse still, the whole site sloped to the left in the engraving. There's the engraving. That's the picture there. It slopes downwards to the left. Or does it slope up to the left? Anyway, Michelangelo's solution was radical. The 3 remodeled palazzi enclose a harmonious trapezoidal space approached by the ramped staircase called the Cordonata. The stepped ramp of the Cordonata was intended like a slow-moving escalator to lift its visitors towards the sky and deposit them on the threshold of municipal authority. Since no perfect forms would work within the dimensions of the plaza, his apparent oval in the paving is actually egg-shaped. Yeah, because it's a trapezoid, so the oval is actually an egg. Narrower at one end than the other, the oval shape combined with the diamond pattern within it was a play on the previous Renaissance geometries of the circle and square. The travertine is a type of stone. Travertine is like that, white stuff. The travertine design set into the paving is perfectly level. Around its perimeter, low steps arise and die away into the paving as the slope requires. Its center springs slightly so that one senses that he or she is standing on the exposed segment of a gigantic egg, all but buried in the center of the city at the center of the world. I don't know. Anyway, so the paving itself it curves slightly upwards. As Michelangelo's historian Charles de Tone pointed out. Okay. Okay. An interlaced 12-pointed star makes a subtle reference to the constellations revolving around this space called Caput Mundi, Latin for head of the world. This paving design was never executed by the popes, who may have detected a subtext of less than Christian import. Benito Mussolini ordered the paving completed to Michelangelo's design in 1940. Oh wow. So the paving was never completed by the popes, but Mussolini completed it in 1940. Michelangelo looked at the center to find a solution to the Capitaline disorder. The statue provided a center and a focus. The buildings define the space, and it is this space as much as the buildings that is the impressive achievement of the Capitaline complex. Alright. Giant outdoor room, blah blah blah, architecture, blah blah blah. Basically, there's a statue in the middle, and buildings around it, and it's a square. Let's not ramble on too much. Man, architectural historians just love to ramble. Alright, Marcus Aurelius. So there's an equestrian statue of Marcus Aurelius. I'm pretty sure Marcus Aurelius was never much of a soldier, was he? I thought he was like a philosopher more than a soldier. So he's kind of awkward on that horse. In the middle, and not to Michelangelo's liking, stood the original equestrian statue of the Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Michelangelo provided an unassuming pedestal for it. The sculpture was held in regard because it was thought to depict Emperor Constantine, the first Christian emperor. The bronze now in position is a modern copy. The original is in the Palazzo dei Conservatori nearby. So they thought it was Constantine, the first Christian emperor, but actually it's Marcus Aurelius. I think Marcus Aurelius wasn't a big fan of the Christians. Anyway. I don't know if we need to read all of that, because this is all just... Oh wait, the Palazzi. The Capitoline Museums. Let's look at these in the... Oh wait, they don't have their own... They don't have their own articles? Hold on. So there's the Palazzo dei Conservatori. This is the one. This is one of the ones we want. Don't we have like the Senatorial Palace in Rome? Senatorial Palace, Rome. Apparently no. Oh wait. The Italian Wikipedia has its own article, not the English one. What about the church? Isn't the church here as well? Apparently not. Apparently not the church. So the Senatorial Palace, according to Wikipedia, built during the 13th and 14th centuries, the Palazzo Senatorial Palace, stands atop the Tabularium, which had once housed the archives of ancient Rome. Peperino blocks from the Tabularium were reused. Oh, I see. So the Tabularium is gone. Were reused in the left side of the palace and a corner of the bell tower. It now houses the Roman City Hall. Its double ramp of stairs was designed by Michelangelo. The double stairway to the palazzo replaced the old flight of steps and two-storied loggia, which had stood on the right side of the palace. The loggia... There's no loggia here. In fact, this is not even historically accurate, I don't think. Pretty sure that's not historically accurate. Anyway. The staircase cannot be seen solely in terms of the building to which it belongs, but must be set in the context of the piazza as a whole. The steps, beginning at the center of each wing, move gently upwards until they reach the inner corner, level off, and recede to the main surface of the facade. They then continue an unbroken stateliness towards each other. An unbroken stateliness. Who wrote this stuff, man? Towards each other, converging on the central doorway of the second story. This interruption of the diagonal line and the brief inward change of direction both absorbs the central axis and links the two sides. The fountain in front of the staircase features the river gods of the Tiber and the Nile, as well as Dea Roma, Minerva. Other than the double stairway and the rusticated bottom floor, none of the building was designed by Michelangelo. Its bell tower was designed by Martino Longhi the Elder, built between 1578 and 1582. Its current facade was designed by Giacomo della Porta and Girolamo Rinaldi. That doesn't really help us very much. It doesn't really give us much history. Alright, let's open up the church. And actually, wait a minute, this just links back to the same page. Are you kidding me? It just links us back to this page? Alright, there's no separate articles. So the Palazzo del Conservatori, which is that one. The Palace of the Conservators was built in the Middle Ages for the local magistrate on top of a 6th century BC temple dedicated to Jupiter Maximus Capitalinus. Michelangelo's renovation of it incorporated the first use of a giant order that spanned 2 stories. Here, with a range of Corinthian pilasters and subsidiary Ionic columns flanking the ground floor loggia openings and the second floor windows. Michelangelo's new portico is a reinvention of older ideas. The portico contains entablatures and a flat copper-like ceiling. We're looking at Michelangelo's stuff. This is not even the stuff in the game. Anyway, that just describes the stuff that Michelangelo did. I don't really want to read all that because it's not really what we see in the game. It's a bit of a shame, like the Wikipedia only has very brief articles on these buildings. Anyway, that's what it is in the game. I'm not sure how they decided to do that. In fact, from the description, like there's little loggias and stuff, that it would seem like that this is actually what the old Senatorial Palace might look like. Because the loggia is this thing. This is a loggia. And apparently that building had a loggia at some point. I don't know. Anyway, next door is the Santa Maria in Naracoeli, the Basilica of St. Mary of the Altar of Heaven. Is a titular basilica in Rome. Located on the highest summit of the Campidoglio, it is still the designated church of the City Council of Rome. which uses the ancient title of Senatus Populesque Romanus. SPQR? Oh, Senatus Populesque Romanus. My bad. SPQR. The present cardinal priest of the Tituus Sancta Mariae de Aracoeli is Salvador de Giorgi. Why do I need to know that? Alright, history. Hey, the interior is kinda cool. Look at that. History. Originally, the church was named Santa Maria in Capitolio, since it was sited on the Capitoline Hill of ancient Rome. By the 14th century, it had been renamed. A medieval legend included in the mid-12th century guide to Rome, Mirabilia Urbis Romae, claimed that the church was built over an Augustan era Primogeniti Dei. Dei? What is, or is it just Dei? I think it's just Dei. In the place where the Tiburtine Sibyl prophesies to Augustus the coming of Christ. For this reason, the figures of Augustus and the Tiburtine Sibyl are painted on either side of the church or of the arch above the high altar. Alright. A later legend substituted an apparition of the Virgin Mary. In the Middle Ages, condemned criminals were executed at the foot of the steps. There the self-proclaimed tribune and reviver of the Roman Republic, Cola di Renzio, met his death, near the spot where his statue commemorates him. Okay, it's just a bunch of random facts right there. So, executions took place right here? Really? Did they say the top of the steps or the base of the steps? Probably the base, right? Well, there's a church. Pretty unremarkable from the outside, isn't it? Oh, there's balconies we can climb on. In the history of money, anthropologist Jack Weatherford goes into some detail about the church's previous incarnation as the temple of Juno Moneta on the Arcs, after whom money is named. According to Roman historians, in the 4th century BC, the irritated honking of the sacred geese around Juno's temple on Capitaline Hill warned the people of an impending night attack by the Gauls, who were secretly scaling the walls of the citadel. From this event, the goddess acquired the surname Juno Moneta, from Latin monere, to warn. As patroness of the state, Juno Moneta presided over various activities of the state, including the primary activity of issuing money. From Moneta came the modern English words mint and money, and ultimately from the Latin word meaning warning. Today, the site of the temple of Juno Moneta, the source of the great stream of Roman currency, has given way to the ancient brick church of Santa Maria in Aracoeli. Centuries ago, church architects incorporated the ruins of the ancient temple into this new building. Okay, but he's a money historian. He's an anthropologist. He's not an archaeologist. Why are we quoting him? Anyways, Wikipedia is a bit dodgy. The church is also thought to have replaced the Auguraculum, the seat of the augurs. The foundation of the church was laid on the site of a Byzantine abbey, mentioned in 574. Many buildings were built around the first church. In the upper part they gave rise to a cloister, while on the slopes of the hill a little quarter and a market grew up. Remains of these buildings, such as the little church of... Wait a minute, do I really need to read all this? Byzantine Abbey... I don't think I want to read all this. Not that interesting. There's other churches on that site, and then they built this one. I mean, the thing about this is, like, a lot of important sites in history have, they reuse these sites, because, I mean, for one, if the site is important, then there's probably a reason why it's important. Maybe it's in a good location, or maybe like this is on a hill, so it's kind of like an important place in the city anyway. So as as people change and as religions come and go, they kind of just build new temples on the old sites. It happens a lot. I don't really think I want to read through all that. So that's the Capitaline Hill. Unfortunately, the Wikipedia articles aren't that detailed. I don't say very much about this. Um, but there you go. There's a lot of important history here, apparently. So what should we do now? I think I'll, as usual, take a break after we've looked at this. I think we will do the Castel San Angelo next. That's a pretty iconic building. Castel San Angelo, and maybe have a brief look at St. Peter's. I don't think we ever looked at St. Peter's in the last game, did we? So let's go to Castel San Angelo and then St. Peter's, and then we might come back for some aqueducts and maybe the old Roman ruins. And basically we'll just continue our architecture tour of Rome and just look at all the landmarks in the game. I still don't think this is quite right though, because the old Roman archives are like here, supposedly. But they're not there in the game. Anyway, I'll leave that there, and I'll see you guys in the next video.